Hello Mila, hello Jack. Hello everybody else who's watching, and welcome to Storytime with Grandad. Today's book is from Ivor the Engine, and it is Snowdrifts. Snow was falling in the top left-hand corner of Wales. Flakes the size of old pennies floated gently down from the dark sky, and laid themselves carefully on the ground. There was so much of it. The little town of Llaniog, high in the hills, was quite covered. The roads were blocked, the railway was blocked. People dug paths from door to door, but the snow soon covered them again. Ivor the Engine was snug and warm in his shed on the siding. So were the sheep who had come down off the hill to warm themselves by his boiler. In fact, there were sheep everywhere in the town. They huddled in the high street, clustered around Eli the baker's shop, where the smell of new baked bread floated out amongst the snowflakes. Eli the baker was a very worried man. The storeroom where he kept his flour was usually full to the ceiling with flour bags. But now it was empty. He had used up all the flour. He put on his overcoat and scarf and tramped out into the snow. On the way he met Mr. Davis, the grocer, and Mrs. Williams, the sweet shop. "What are you out of then?" asked Eli. "Everything," replied Mr. Davis. "Rice, treacle, butter, jam, biscuits, potatoes, you name it, I haven't got it. My shop is almost empty." "So is mine," sighed Mrs. Williams. Di the station master, and Jones the steam, the engine driver, sat in the booking office at Llaniog station with their feet up on the stove, drinking tea. There came a knock at the door. It opened, and in came a lot of cold air, some snowflakes, Eli the baker, Mr. Davis, and Mrs. Williams. "What's this?" asked Di Station. "There are no tickets or trains today?" "No flour," said Eli. "No potatoes," said Mr. Davis. "No bullseyes," said Mrs. Williams. "Oh yes," said Di the Station. "What are you going to do about that then?" "There's nothing we can do," growled Eli. "The flour is waiting at Grumbly Town for Ivor to collect it as usual. Until it comes, we shan't have any more bread." "Or potatoes," said Mr. Davis. "Or jelly babies," said Mrs. Williams. "Oh, there's tragedy now," said Jones. "What shall we eat?" "We shan't eat, we shall starve," explained Eli the baker, "unless you and Ivor go to Grumbly and collect the goods." "But the snow is deep on the line," said Jones the steam. "We would never get through without a snowplow." "Then get a snowplow," said Eli the baker firmly, and went home. Well, of course, Eli the baker was quite right. The only thing to do was to get a snowplow. Jones the steam and Di the station took their feet off the stove, finished their tea, and went to see Benyon the smith. "Snowplow, is it?" said Benyon Smith, thoughtfully. "I've no idea what snowplows look like, so I suppose I shall just have to invent one. It would be a sort of double sideways shovel, I expect. Something like this, perhaps." Benyon Smith took a piece of burnt wood from the forge and drew on the wall. "A bolt here at the back, look, and a bracket over Ivor's buffers of 2-inch angle, riveted plates." Once Benyon Smith is busy inventing something, there is no point in standing about. He was still drawing and talking to himself as Jones and Di walked back to the station. Jones the steam went on. down to the shed to see Ivor's fire and tell him about the snowplow. Benyon Smith did not waste time. He hammered and thumped and welded sheet and angles and bars of steel in his forge, and by midday he was to be seen dragging a strange implement over the snow like a sledge. He bolted it onto Ivor's front end, over the buffers. It fitted very well. "Go on, Ivor," said Benyon. "Take a run at the snow." Jones the Steam opened Ivor's regulator as wide as it would go, and Ivor fairly charged at the deep snow. The snowplow dug its point in and threw the snow up each side of the line in a great shower. "Keep going, Ivor," shouted Benyon Smith as he jumped onto the step. Ivor kept going and carved a clean path through the snow up to Llaniog station. There they coupled up 2 trucks and were ready to go to Grumbly. "Shall we try it then, Ivor?" asked Jones. "Boop boop," went Ivor's whistle. Chuff, chuff, chuff went Ivor's pistons. Scrunch, slurp went the snow as it was hoisted up and thrown aside by the snowplow. "Keep pushing, Ivor," shouted Benyon Smith and Die Station as they disappeared down the line. The snowdrifts lay thick on the sides of the hills, but Ivor charged into them and split them like meringues. "Keep pushing, Ivor," shouted Jones the Steam. But Ivor needed no encouragement. His fire was burning well, his steam pressure was high, his pistons were puffing powerfully, and the snow was leaping up and away on each side of them. He was enjoying himself. It was a glorious sight. Even the sun came out to see, and lit the mountains with shafts of light that glittered on the snow and ice like golden fire. Soon they came to Grumbly town. Jones closed the regulator, and they rolled quietly into the snow-covered station. "Are you there, Mr. Thomas?" shouted Jones the Steam. Mr. Thomas, the station master, took his feet off the stove and put down his mug of tea. "What's this? The ghost train?" he laughed. "Didn't expect to see you again till after the snow." "Well, it's a bit of emergency like," explained Jones. "Eli the baker is out of flour, Mr. Davis has no potatoes, and Mrs. Williams is dangerously low on bullseyes. We can't let the town starve, can we?" "Well, it's all waiting here for you," said Mr. Thomas. "I'll help you load up." There were 15 bags of flour, 5 of potatoes, nets of carrots, sprouts, onions and leeks, boxes of bullseyes and beef cubes, camphor, combs, caraway seeds, detergents and dolly mixture, embrocation, flannel nighties, grapefruit, hat pins, hair oil, honey, and so on, right through the alphabet. Also, there was Miss Figgin's old uncle, who'd come to see the dentist 3 weeks ago, and had had to stay ever since. They wrapped him up in blankets and packed him in with the rest of the goods. "Mind how you go now, Ivor," said Mr. Thomas. "There's a heavy load you are pulling. Look, and don't bump Mr. Figgin too much, or he'll have to come back for a new lot of teeth." Poop poop! Chuff, 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 chuff. The load was very heavy, but as they had cleared the line on the way down, Ivor pulled it with no trouble. They puffed merrily up the hill, through Tannygwilch, and down the hill beyond the tunnel. Then they saw trouble ahead. Where the line went close under the hill, the snow had slipped in an avalanche, and the line was blocked. "Take a run at it, Ivor," shouted Jones. "We've plenty of weight behind us." Jones opened the regulator. "Poop!" went Ivor's whistle as he charged joyfully at the snow pile. Screech, slither, bonk, bonk, clunk. Ivor had slammed on his brakes. He stopped inches from the snow pile. "What's wrong, Ivor?" laughed Jones. "Afraid of a bit of snow?" They backed off and charged again. Again Ivor slammed on his brakes. Now look here, Ivor, began Jones angrily, because he had bumped his nose. Just what do you... He stopped. He had seen something. The snow pile was not all snow. Some of it looked like wool. Jones saw a nose here and an ear and a tail there. He fetched his shovel. "Bah!" said the first sheep as he dug it out. Jones went on digging. He dug out in all 14 sheep. They were very cold and miserable, but they were unharmed. "Bah! Bah! Bah!" they shouted. "Yes, all right," said Jones. "But do be quiet a minute while we decide what to do with you." There was only one thing they could do, really. Take the sheep to Llaniog and find out to whom they belonged. Jones unloaded all the goods except Miss Figgin's uncle. Then he lifted the sheep into the back. "There'll be company for you, Mr. Figgin." "Bah! Bah! Bah!" said the sheep, very pleased. "Bah!" said Mr. Figgin, very displeased. "Boop! Boop!" went Ivor's whistle. "Chuff! Chuff! Chuff!" They charged through what remained of the snow heap and headed for home. Everybody in Llaniog was out to meet them. "Hurrah for Jones the hero!" they shouted. "Hurrah for Ivor!" "Have you bought my flour?" shouted Eli. "My potatoes?" shouted Mr. Davis. "My bullseyes?" shouted Mrs. Williams. "Nothing but sheep," shouted Eli angrily. "Look, 2 truckloads of sheep, and if there is one thing we have plenty of in Llaniog, it is cold sheep." "Dashed impertinence," muttered Mr. Figgin. "Where's my dolly mixture?" wailed Mrs. William. "Boop!" went Ivor's whistle so loudly that everybody had to stop shouting. "Now listen, everybody," said Jones, the steam. "The goods are a mile or so back down the line. We just unload the sheep and go back for them, all right?" They lifted down the sheep and Mr. Figgin, who was still bleating. Jones and Ivor went back down the line, and Mr. Davis and Eli the baker came too, because Jones the steam had lifted enough boxes and bags for one day. So the sheep came home. Mr. Davis got his potatoes, Mrs. Williams her bullseyes, and the next day Eli the baker made a batch of hot fresh rolls for them all. The end. Goodbye, Mila. Goodbye, Jack. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.